Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, then this is the show for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create the life you love or love the life you create. Now here's your host, Dr. April, and her co-host, Coach K.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. I am your co-host, Coach K, and as you see that our host, Dr. April, is not with us, and she is actually having an exciting time right now. So with her bachelorette party planning, so yay, we're very much excited about that, and we're going to hold down the fort while she is away. So today we have an amazing guest. We have Melissa Crook, who is going to be talking about your life, your rules. But before we get into a little bit about Melissa and have her join us, I want to make sure that we do talk about our charity of the month. So every month there is a charity that we like to highlight so that it can be a resource for you, as well as shedding light on some of the great things that are happening out here in the world, not just in our community. So the charity of the month is Caring Across Generations. The mission of Caring Across Generations is to change our culture and policy in America to value and support caregiving. To that end, we seek to transform cultural norms and narratives about aging, disability, and care to win federal and state level policy change and to create powerful coalition across the millions of us who are touched by care. Such a very good cause, and it also highlights caregiving, which is, I don't think we do enough. We always talk about the patients, but we never really talk about those caregivers. So Caring Across Generations, if you want to know more about that so that you can volunteer, help, or donate, or you may need the services, you can go to www.caringacross.org/donate. Now, let's talk a little bit about our guests that we have today. We're going to be talking with Melissa Crook. Really quickly, the month Melissa Crook turned 50 and was 2 weeks into her latest move to Lubbock, Texas, she ended up in the ER twice over a 10-day period with various symptoms, including racing heartbeat, sky-high blood pressure, and a bladder control issue. After scores of tests and a trip to the cardiologist, it was determined that outside of hormones due to menopause, there was nothing seriously physically wrong with her. There was, however, a serious issue with anxiety, codependency, performing, and producing for approval, intrusive thoughts around health, and no peace or contentment in her life, despite her very faith-based life. Thus begun Melissa's journey in connecting the dots on how unprocessed, denied, stuffed, disassociated feelings and emotions have direct effect on her physical health and emotional and spiritual peace. That is just a small glimpse of the bio that we have for Melissa Crook, where she's going to be talking today about your life, your rules. So I'm really excited to get into this, especially as a woman I'm only 5 years away from what we call the midlife, where things are definitely changing. So being able to hear from someone that has made it their mission to talk about it, take control of her life under her terms, and to be able to share with us a little bit about that, super excited here. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we're going to come back, we're going to be joined by Melissa Crook.
Are you wanting a vacation in paradise? Vacation to reignite the passion, the desire in your relationship? Vacation counseling is just for you. We are deeply committed to your success as a couple. Our couples counseling retreats are exclusive, effective, and intimate. At Vacation Counseling, you will benefit from a combination of couples counseling, intimacy counseling, and individual counseling while you and your partner enjoy a relaxing vacation in sunny Southwest Florida. If you are interested in vacation counseling, please visit us at vacationcounseling.com for more information on prices and packages.
Welcome back, everybody. And as you see, we are joined by a very special guest, Melissa Crook. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Coach K. I'm so happy to be here today. I'm here.
Before we get started, what does intimacy mean to you?
Intimacy means to me that you feel safe with a person, and there's a trust there, because I think without the safety and the trust, you don't feel like you can show up as your authentic self. So it's that ability to show up and feel safe showing up exactly who you are, knowing that you will be welcomed and loved and not judged. And then that opens the door to further intimacy. And whether that is in a friendship, whether that is in your relationship with your partner, or that you're coupled, because how much, and we'll take it a step further when you're talking about a partner, if they're a sexual partner as well, whether it's your, a husband, a wife, long-term girlfriend, whatever that is, how authentic or safe are you going to feel like you can really fully embrace and immerse yourself in this experience if you don't first have that trust and that safety piece? And I think it starts with those pieces first and building that over time. And some people connect sooner on that than others, and it takes work. It's not like a perfect science. I mean, you can have that initial chemistry with someone, but that doesn't mean automatically translate to intimacy, long-term peace, safety, all those things.
Absolutely. And just with that very small piece of the bio and hearing you talk about, what that intimacy is and that trust, and just the title of Your Life, Your Rules, tell me how intimacy really plays into that whole, it sounds like taking the bull by the horns type of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I said in my bio, I had a lot of show up for everybody else first, put myself last. That's a narrative. That's a script we get as very little girls, and that we play out. And at some point, if you're not stopping to take a look at your life and like, am I living out of my own expectations versus other people's expectations? Do I have any kind of healthy boundaries? I didn't even know what the word boundaries was. I didn't know what it meant. The first time it was introduced to me 5 or 6 years ago, I had no concept of what that even meant or what that looked like. So it started with me sitting down and asking those questions. Where am I giving my time? And how do I feel about that? Was that something that, do I feel a calling to it? Do I feel connected to it? Is it someone else's expectation of me? And then from there, it's like, okay, I've taken a look at my calendar of life and I've determined these things feel in alignment, because you'll feel it in your body. Your body will tell you. It's just a matter of you being in tune to that. I lived in a very disassociated space for a lot of years. And when you're living disassociated, you're not able to connect with your own emotions, which inhibits your ability to connect with other people intimately and authentically. There's only so far you can get in that relationship. So once I started kind of unpacking, unstuffing, identifying things that needed to be moved through and processed, I was then able to be present with myself first and get to know myself first and value myself first and see myself as worthy. It's going to be very difficult for you to be effectively, openly, authentically intimate in a relationship if you don't first connect with yourself. And that takes time and work and seeing your value in doing that. And then that enables you to then, okay, this is where I can give my time. This is where I can't give my time. And this is for me. This is not for you. I'm not telling you what to do with your life. That is your choice. This is for me and my health and well-being. And you find out fairly quickly the people that are for you and authentically want that for you, and the people that are like, well, wait a minute, I like you showing up for me at the drop of a hat with no boundaries or expectations of any, kind of support or understanding of what's best for me. They like you showing up that way. So they either may take some reminders in time, or that just may not be a relationship that is healthy for you. And it's those people that show themselves in those moments. Those are the ones, then you've got the building blocks for that trust, that safety. They see me, they hear me, they value me, and then you can build intimacy within those relationships. So that's for me how this is. I had to learn that, and I've had to set some difficult boundaries with relationships that were doing me mental, emotional harm. I could feel it in my body once I got in tune with it. I would show up for years and years, and not because I was living in this disassociated, hypervigilant level. Got to take care of everybody. If I keep talking to them, they'll change their minds. If I keep telling them what's healthy and releasing, like, that is not my responsibility. My responsibility is to take care of me, identify what's healthy for me, share that openly with others, and then bring those people in and connect with those people that want that for me too, and I want that for them. It's a mutual connection there. Mutual respect, mutual understanding, and connection, and that creates the space for the intimacy. And that can be true in all relationships, not just with your spouse or your partner.
Right. So thinking about when you started to align yourself with yourself and say, hey, I need to make myself the priority here. How difficult was it to see certain people kind of shed away?
It was very interesting because people that I thought would be with me weren't necessarily with me. And then other people surprised me in the most spectacular way. And I would have not predicted a lot of the outcomes that ended up coming into play. So that was the first thing, is like, oh, okay. Didn't see that coming, but now I know. And now I can address and frame those relationships accordingly.
Right.
And put that reframing on that, whether that is just managing the amount of time given, the space given, the understanding, or gosh, I didn't realize they were that person for me. I didn't know that about them. I need to really invest more time in this space with these people, or these things, these activities. I mean, it can be all kinds of things. It's people, but it can also be workspaces, faith spaces. It can be a lot of those different things. I did a complete deconstruction of my faith and how I felt about my faith, where I'd been versus where I was going, the harm that the faith spaces I'd been in had done versus where I needed to go for my own health. So it can be a lot of that kind of thing in all those spaces. And then, it's really, you get there like, okay, I've got these healthy boundaries. Then you got to communicate them. Right. And that can be tricky. And it's okay if you don't do it well the first time, because you can go back and be like, you know what, I'm kind of new to this. I need to revisit this. I didn't present that in the best way possible. Can I have another shot at that? Or there's some people you just have to keep reminding. And then at a certain point, you have to decide, you know what, this is a choice now. They haven't just forgotten because they're used to me showing up that way and they need some reminders. They're making a conscious choice to not accept this place that I need to be for me now. And I need to take a look at whether that's a kind of space or person I need to be giving time to anymore.
Most definitely. So just think about that. So how does understanding and embracing the different aspects of your identity and learning those things, how did that enhance your own sense of self-awareness? Because you were talking and saying, there are some people who you have to keep reminding. So it's like,
Yeah.
they're not self-aware, but how did that enhance your self-awareness?
It just, that presence, being present. I'd never been so present before, and
Mhm.
learning, and I'm still, this is a work in progress. Like, I want to be very clear. I have not arrived. Like, every day there are little things, because these things that we learn, these habits, these narratives that we learn from a very early age are very deeply entrenched. And so different things, spaces, people are going to bring those up. But it was just by staying present. And it was kind of shocking as I look back 5 to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, at how I showed up in a space, decisions I made, things that I believed in. And I look back now, I'm like, that was coming completely from a script that I had been sold, that I had adhered to out of fear. And I was constantly ignoring that little nudge within me that was trying to tell me, you don't really think that. That's not really in alignment with you. And that was probably the biggest thing that changed, is I was now listening to that inner knowing. I was now listening and giving credence. I was no longer believing the lie that that inner knowing could not be trusted, that that inner knowing was bad. I was like, no, no, no. That is my most inner self trying to get my attention.
Yeah.
And then once you get there, for me, there's like, you can't go back. You know what you know, and there's no going back. You then are all of a sudden start seeing these things in people you've been in relation. Oh, wait a minute.
Hmm.
And you have to get okay with the fact that not everybody wants to do the same work you're doing.
Right.
And what that does to that relationship, and how you navigate that, because that can be very difficult. Because that's probably been some of the hardest things for me, is there's some relationships where I've had to accept they don't want to do what I've done. They just don't want to, and it's not my job to force them to, nor my responsibility, but I have to navigate how that it impacts where I am now, versus where I was years ago, or different times when we first came together in relationships. But it's just that staying present and listening to my body. That's really the biggest thing about the self-awareness piece. Paying attention. Am I feeling tightness in my chest? Is my stomach a little butterfly or woozy? Am I clenching my jaw? Am I crinkling my head? Like, I know I have a permanent like space here in my forehead from all the times I was doing this. Just like we don't breathe, stopping to breathe. I will, when I know I'm in a high stress mood situation, a lot going on, I will like try to stop every hour and do some box breathing to reset my nervous system, because we don't breathe when we're stressed and when we're not present with ourselves. So that's really where the self-awareness piece has shown up, is trusting my inner knowing, and listening, paying attention to where I'm feeling it in my body.
That's an important piece. And I love that you brought up how now that you are in that self-awareness stage, because the reality is healing is everlasting.
It goes, yeah. It's not a
doesn't
6-month
stop.
get the tools, we're out. I thought that's what it was. I thought I was going to go into therapy in the fall of 2019, grab a toolbox, see a doctor, get some supplements, and check out and get on with the rest of my life. That is not how it works. And that's okay.
That's right. But and with that self-awareness and understanding that, do you ever just take time to think back on those relationships that did kind of shed away, and then the ones that got closer? Do you go back and look at the things that were, I guess what they call the red flags and the green flags, and say, oh, this person was always around and always available really for what I could give them, while the person that's now here, who was more distant, realized that you need to call me when you need me and I'll be there. Did you see a lot of that?
Oh, for sure. Like you, and just even the red flags, like I was really attracted to other people that were in codependent relationships, that liked that, and so I really had it, not just in my personal life, but in my work life too. And so I had to be like, oh, wow, that was I need to be, I know the signs of that now. So
Mm-hmm.
if I see these things showing up, these behaviors showing up, that is a red flag to me. And then, and then the people that were just back there were like, I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you to come along. I knew you had it in you. And so then, having conversations, because some of these people I've known for years, and it's like, I always sensed that that's where you were, but there was something getting in the way of you feeling like you could go there. And they just pay, and I think it creates a sense of empathy for people's stories, for people's like understanding. And because it starts with yourself, I had to then work through, oh my gosh, I can't believe I showed up this way, that way. I made that decision. I told my daughters this, whatever it was that I did, I had to be like, given where I was at the time and given my background, I understand how I got there. I don't have to love it, but I can acknowledge it and accept it and not judge, shame, beat myself up, be unforgiving. And that's because that's where that whole layers piece gets in this. But you got to be able to accept all those pieces, all those parts of you, because that's what gives you the safety and freedom to show up as yourself. And then that really enables you to see that in other people as well. When you're able to give that to yourself, you're a lot more able to give that to other people.
Oh yeah, I love that you just pointed that out. Not to continue to harp on what you've done so horribly in life, but the fact that okay, I did it, saw it, checked it. Now we're going the other way. So we're thinking about that self-awareness. In what ways does that self-awareness contribute to a more fulfilling, sensual, and pleasurable experience?
I don't feel like I have to apologize or feel embarrassed about wanting to have a sensual experience, being drawn to that, having a desire. That doesn't make me bad. It doesn't make me dirty. All those kind of narratives that we get as women of how we're supposed to show up when we're literally given a whole entire organ to experience pleasure with. Hello. And no one talks about that. That isn't discussed in your sex education class. That isn't, your parents don't tell you about it. No one tells you. Like, I never heard the word and clitoris until I was a grown woman, like very grown. And so and it really changes the narrative. I got a lot of the narrative of sex is for making sure your partner's happy and having children if you're heterosexual, but you're not, but a desire and attraction and sensuality, that's for the bad girls. And it's no, that's for all of us. It's an important part of the experience, but I'm still unpacking a lot of old narratives that get in the way of me being able to have that experience. Like, I'm still working through that. And my husband and I both came from very conservative backgrounds. So we both had to do work to reframe what that looks like for us in our relationship, but also removing the shame and feeling like I can't show up a certain way. It's not okay for me to be sexy. And also that it's not my responsibility to show up. I'm not responsible for a man's reaction or response to me. They have their own behavior that they're responsible for. And me dressing a certain way, wearing makeup, wearing shorts, that's on them to control their own, be a decent human, and so I think there's just so many narratives that women are sold that they aren't, but even within your partner in your own bedroom, my husband has been be you, be free, you're safe with me. And it had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with all these things I had been told from a very young age of what was appropriate and not appropriate. And I don't think we talk enough about that.
We absolutely do not. And, you talking about, from wearing the makeup and the different clothing and things that were kind of placed on our shoulders at a young age. that comes with how we perceive our bodies. So, how does your
Yes.
perception of your body affect your ability to feel that sensual experience and pleasure?
Well, learning that your body is nothing to be ashamed of, that your body
Mhm,
was given to you. It's beautiful, it's unique, it's special. I don't need to hide it. I don't need to
mhm,
be embarrassed by it. I really I read a book by Hillary McBride a couple years ago, and it really talked about referring to my body as her, and giving her that identity, and embracing her and accepting her and loving her and acknowledging all the places she has taken me through the years, um, from being a track athlete, to birthing my children, to being mentally and emotionally really strong for me in a very traumatic emotional household growing up, to trudging all over the nation, doing all kinds of things with my husband and daughter. I mean, just really like giving her that love and not feeling like I have to hide her, that I need to
mhm.
be embarrassed by her. And that and knowing too, I'm very fortunate. My husband loves me wholly, completely, authentically as I am in all the spaces.
Beautiful.
And so that's, and I can and understand, I think that's, I understand how fortunate I am. He is waiting, welcoming, loves me, loves all the curves, all the pieces, all the stretch marks. He's like, this is the story of you, and it's beautiful. And so I'm very lucky with that. So also, that intimacy piece and feeling, but it starts with me. And one of the things I'm really working on right now is, what does pleasure look like for me? Not just in my relationship, but for me. What feels, and that can be, my friend Dr. Fanny Label-Langer talks about that really well. Pleasure can be enjoying a meal, taking in the smells, chewing your food slowly, you closing your eyes and having the full, senses experience that's happening around you. It can be, sitting in a warm bath and just feeling embraced by the music, the warm water, the smells, all those things create a sensual experience, and being okay with that and being comfortable with that, and with your, and I think, and I think that your body image is such a tricky thing for women.
Yeah, it
It is
is.
such a tricky thing. We start hearing narratives about what is our bodies should look like from the time we are so young,
Yep.
and so you really have to learn how to just not buy into the myth that there's one way for a body to be, to show up. What feels healthy and authentic to you, what feels safe to you, because also too, I think intimacy and pleasure, safety is a core piece of that. You will not be able to experience it fully if you don't feel safe within the
Safe.
experience as well.
And that just literally almost full circle goes back to the very beginning of what you were
Yeah.
saying. So when we think about, that relationship we have with our body, and you talked a
Hmm.
little bit about it just now, but what are some of the practices that can help to just cultivate a more positive and accepting connection or relationship with your body?
For me, I really have worked on, I identify the things that my body, how does she show up for me on a regular basis? what
Hmm.
what are all the things that she allows me to do? And then for any of those things maybe I don't love about her, okay, but how did we get here, and is there anything I can do to nourish that side, heal
Hmm.
that side? If it's something I want to change, do differently, but not lose sight of all that she gives to me and is for me. And we get so negative about our bodies, and so I really try to focus and remember. And this is, like I said, it is a work in progress. I have not arrived at this, but I'm learning to, like, I will walk around in my house. It's just the two of us now. Our kids are grown, but I'll walk around at my house. I'll go out with, and grab something without anything on, or just some, I wouldn't have done that 10 years ago. I would have like
Right.
grabbed a rope, covered up. Like, I don't know who I was covering up for, but just was like, the body is not to be seen outside of the bedroom. I was
Right.
like, She's fine. There's nothing inherently dirty or wrong with her. She can go out to the refrigerator and grab some water at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I'm, menopause. We wake up at 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom or more. But yeah, little things like that, or even just like sitting up in bed in the morning. If I'm too warm at night, like things that I will like be comfortable doing in my body that I would have never done 10 years ago. It's really starts with those and getting comfortable with those things there, and it just accepting her, being okay with her, not feeling like I have to cover her up or be ashamed of her in any way in those settings. And then wearing what feels good, wearing what feels comfortable. Look, do I feel comfortable? Do I feel free in this? It's also not following the script that I have to show up in this form-fitting thing all the time. Is that comfortable for me? No, I'm going to sweat through it. It's 106 degrees outside. No. So just identify what feels comfortable, what makes me feel beautiful when I walk outside, when I paying attention to those things too, of and what feels authentic to you. And it goes back to that expectations piece. Is this out of my own expectations, or is this out of the expectations of other people based on the narrative I've been given?
1,000%. And it sounds like, that's being able to live out loud.
Yes.
So,
unapologetically, and not in an obnoxious way, but in a welcoming, authentic way that people are like, I want what she has. I don't know what she had in her coffee this morning, but I want that. That they're drawn in, they want more of that. And because that living, that showing up that way is an invitation for others, like, no, you come with me. We can all do this. We can do this together. There's a better way. We can change this narrative, but we got to do it together. So let's come in community. Let's talk openly about these things and have conversations and create safe spaces for us to do this.
So that uncomfortable becomes the norm. So what does living unapologetically mean to you? And how do you start how can you start embodying this in your choices and actions? If someone is sitting here listening to this and they say, I want to do that thing, I want to live unapologetically, what does that mean? And how can they start embodying those, choices and actions?
Well, it's good. This answer will probably surprise some people, but write down 5 things that nourish you. What are 5 activities that nourish you? Are you engaging in any of those activities? Are you doing anything to fill your cup? These are not to-do list items. These are things that you just feel invigorated by. Is it a walk on the beach? Is it a kayak trip on the lake? Is it smelling the flowers in your yard? Is it going for a run? Is it a concert? Music. What are those things that nourish you? And start putting those things into your life. And then it starts with, and then look at your list, look at your calendar. How many of those things are you doing? Are they authentically from you? Where do there need to be some shifts? Are you living out of your own expectations or other people's expectations? Because that affects if we are not living in alignment with who we are and want to be, we show up irritable, crabby, short-tempered. We're not open. We're not authentic. We're just annoyed at some point in the day. And listen, there's those things we got to do. You got to do the laundry. You got to feed the kids. There's things you got to do that maybe, but in that day-to-day where you're giving your time and your space, is that something that you have decided is right for you? Or are there some things in there that need to be shifted? And then you start looking at, okay, based on this, where do I need some healthy boundaries? Where do I need to look at the relationships that I'm engaged with, that I'm in? Are these people, are we authentically for each other? Are we good for each other? Is there some shifts that need to be made? And you're making those connections between your emotional, mental, physical health. What are you feeling in your body? Your body's going to tell you if your expectations, your values, your time spent, and your boundaries are out of alignment. Listen to her. Pay attention to her. She's screaming at you for attention. Take the negative, positive definition off of your emotions. Your emotions are clues. and they're telling you that something is up and needs to be addressed, or something needs to be enjoyed. You know, we have this foreboding joy, like, oh my gosh, I can only be happy for so long before something bad happens, or the shoe drops, or I can't experience joy because this person over here had a tragedy. You can both support them in their tragedy and experience your joy. So quit pushing back your emotions, you know, and process them, move through them. And that as you do these things over time, and these steps are all listed on our website. If people are like, I'm never going to remember all that, we've got them listed. This is the journey to embracing your layers, showing up unapologetically, because all of a sudden, when you're taking care of yourself and filling your cup, when you're processing your emotions, when you've set some healthy boundaries with your time and the people you're with, and you're doing that from things that feel authentic to you, all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is in alignment with my values. I feel free here. I feel free in this space. I feel safe in this space. And then it changes everything for your relationship with yourself. It also changes how you interact with other people, who's engaged in your life. But it takes time and patience, because there's a lot of old narratives and habits. This does not happen overnight. I name the emotions each day when I'm journaling. I'll name how I'm feeling so that I can be aware of that, because I've lived so many years not present with that, not aware of that. I pay attention. If I haven't written down an emotion, but I'm like, man, I am feeling tight today. My chest is seized up. What is in my calendar? What has happened the last week? What did somebody say? Why? Where's that coming from? And what do I need to do to work through it? Is it writing a letter to someone that's not going to ever go to them, but I need to get it out? Is it, I need to go in a really brisk, cardio workout just to get the angst out of my body? Or I need some sleep. I need some sleep. I need some sleep, because we will be more tired, more irritable, eat the wrong foods. How are we fueling ourselves? Are we taking time to drink our water, eat our lunch, have our dinner? How are we feeling? What are we putting into our body? Because when we're trying to mask emotions and not making space to walk through them, we will fill that gap, that discomfort, with other things that aren't so good for us, that feel good in the moment. Like, I'm taking care of myself right now. This is self-care. No, that is, it might feel like self-care in the moment. That's not, the self-care is getting into it and figuring out where it comes from and what do I need to do to work through it so I can feel better all the time.
Oh my gosh. You have shared very, very helpful, like just the knowing of write the 5 things down, and is that actually, am I doing the thing? You've shared so much valuable information, and I know that those that are watching now and that will watch it, like you said, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't remember all this. So how can those folks that are watching now and that will watch in the future, how can they get in touch with you?
Go to embracinglayers.com. That's our website. And everything's there. The About page will tell you about our podcast and our radio show. It will list out those things I've talked about, those healthy boundaries, those expectations. All those things will be listed there. We have a book coming out. That information will be listed. This will allow you to engage with those things I've talked about. You can listen to the podcast, listen to the radio show, look at our resources page for all the guest resources we have, but then get the book. Do it with your neighborhood friends, your community, with your journaling, and engage with these things. Create some actionable steps for you, because it's going to look different for everybody. This is not if you do all these things, your life will be perfect. No, this is a journey. These are things to help keep you on the road. These are things to keep you aware and moving forward and learning. But yeah, embracinglayers.com. And also I do public speaking. So if you'd like me to come talk to your group, and we can talk about all the things, we can talk about one thing, pick that thing. Like, we really need to talk about healthy boundaries. All right, let's talk about it. And you can fill out the contact form, and I can come and do that with you as well.
I appreciate you so much. I'm guessing you're on social media as well?
Yes, all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, at Embracing Layers. The Field Podcast is the name of the podcast. The Embracing Layers radio show is the internet radio show. Embracing Layers Unapologetically is the book. That we're on all the socials, LinkedIn, TikTok, we're everywhere. And that's all on our website. You can click on our website and grab all those links. We've got a link tree and our Instagram profile, so it's all there.
Awesome. Well, I definitely appreciate you being on here, Melissa. With your life, your rules, it was just such a pleasure, and you shared so much. So we will be right back after this quick break for a little bit more.
Are you seeking quality counseling for yourself or your loved ones? At Cape Coral Therapists in Sarasota, our skilled therapists specialize in children counseling, family counseling, couples counseling, and individual counseling. We provide personalized care for all ages, ensuring you receive the support you need. Open 7 days a week, we offer counseling in Spanish, Creole, Czech, and English, making quality care accessible to everyone. Contact us today and take the first step towards a brighter tomorrow.
All right, that was amazing. I'm hoping that you guys genuinely enjoy it. And if you're catching that replay, #replay and let us know what you think. Of course, we have many more amazing shows that are coming up. And thank you again, Melissa. That was amazing. So coming up on August the 1st, we have Overcoming Erectile Dysfunction with men's sexual health coach, Ken Schaefer. On August the 8th, we're taking a look back at the #1 reason men and women fail in love with Andre Pradis. On August the 15th, we have How to Heal and Strengthen Relationships Post-Trauma with our special guest, Marissa Flood. And then on August the 22nd, we have Secrets of Growing in Intimacy with Sherman Perryman. I just want to remind everybody who's out there listening, #1, we always appreciate you so much. We are here every single week, 3:30 p.m. You can stream us live, and we appreciate you liking us, following us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, you name it, we are there. This has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real, and we will catch you guys back here later. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dr. April Brown's 7-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon. We'll see you next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.